Next up, we have Alexandre Laizet. He is the CEO of the Blockchain Group, Europe's first Bitcoin treasury company focused on increasing Bitcoin per share over time. Previously, Alexandre was digital assets lead at Accenture, where he advised more than 30 financial institutions on their digital asset strategy to accelerate Bitcoin capital markets adoption. And one of his missions is to see Bitcoin in the Eiffel Tower. At least that's what he tells me. Welcome, Alexandre.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Strategy, for leading the Bitcoin movement. And thank you for Bitcoin for Corporations for leading the Bitcoin adoption of corporations around the world. I'm Alexandre Laizet, Deputy CEO and Director of Bitcoin Strategy at the Blockchain Group, Europe's first Bitcoin treasury company, listed on Euronext Growth Paris under TBG. So we are today in a context where the largest financial institutions and governments are adopting Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best performing asset over the last 15 years. Bitcoin has seen the rise of the most successful ETF of all ETFs in history, and Bitcoin is the only asset that the US government does not want to sell and plans to accumulate. And so in this context, as you all know, the only thing better than Bitcoin is more Bitcoin. And Bitcoin treasury companies can provide more Bitcoin by focusing on Bitcoin per share increase over time. We have strategy for America and the world, plus 3,000% over the last 5 years, while Bitcoin is up 1,000% over the same period. We have Metaplanet for Asia and the world, up 1,000 to 2,000% over 1 year, while Bitcoin is up 50%. And we now have for Europe, the Blockchain Group, already up 700% over 6 months, while Bitcoin is up by 30%. And the playbook is extremely simple. It is to raise capital, to accumulate Bitcoin in a way that increases Bitcoin per share, to hold Bitcoin forever, to never lose the Bitcoin, and to not sell the Bitcoin. And so by focusing on maximizing BTC yield, the increase of Bitcoin per share, Bitcoin treasury companies can achieve more Bitcoin. And TBG is focused on increasing Bitcoin per share. Year to date, we have increased Bitcoin per share by 709%. What this means is that at the beginning of the year, shareholders had 41 sats per share, and today they have 332 sats per share. And that's been shown in the performance of the stock, obviously, 474%. That was last week. And yesterday, it was 700%. So I need to keep updating the slides. And so more Bitcoin is achieved by increasing BTC yield for shareholders. But this outperformance of Bitcoin is not magic. As outlined by leading French asset manager Tobam in Bitcoin, they published a mathematical paper demonstrating how Bitcoin treasury companies can outperform Bitcoin based on 3 factors. First one is BTC yield that I mentioned, the increase of Bitcoin per share, per fully diluted share over time. The second one is the BTC performance with the exposure to Bitcoin on the balance sheet, of course. And the third one is the BTC premium, the premium between the market cap and the net asset value of the Bitcoin. Most traditional investors typically look only at factor 2 and factor 3, but they don't take into account factor 1, which is extremely important because it increases the net asset value of the company over time, taking into account the dilution. And so the conclusion of the mathematical paper of Tobam, led by Yves Chefati, the founder and president, is that BTC companies can outperform Bitcoin with unchanged premiums. And that's something to understand for investors that consider Bitcoin treasury companies. The outperformance is not only about the premium, it is also about the BTC yield that is generated by those companies. So how did we generate this 709% BTC yield? Well, we increased the shares, the fully diluted shares, by 2x year to date, while we increase at the same time the number of Bitcoin on the balance sheet by 15x. And so that's how we deliver the 709% BTC Yield. TBG has also adopted the key BTC KPIs invented by Strategy, the BTC Yield, BTC Gain, and BTC Euro Gain. And TBG has generated more than 200 BTC gain year to date. For comparison, in euros, that's 23 million euros, which is already more than our sales of last year for the operational business, and which is 17x the net result of the company for the whole year, but in one semester on a Bitcoin basis. And so that shows you the impact and the transformative impact of Bitcoin for any publicly listed company. What are our key milestones for the Bitcoin Treasury Company strategy? We launched the strategy back in November 5, 2024, and we directly started with a 1 million raise at 70% premium to the reference stock price, increasing our holdings to 15 Bitcoin. Then we doubled down with the entry of globally renowned investor, Adam Back, the only person mentioned in the white paper that I used to know when I was working as digital assets lead at Accenture, and a few other investors, which led to a raise at a 40% premium to the stock reference price and led to our BTC holdings to grow to 40 Bitcoin. Then we decided to accelerate the Bitcoin Treasury Company strategy as it was planned since the beginning, and to get the authorization of the general meeting to raise up to 300 million euros. And just 1 month after this, we were able to raise 50 million in BTC-denominated convertible debt, which was a world first for Bitcoin treasury companies. That means that the convertible debt was directly subscribed in Bitcoin. So we directly received Bitcoin, and the debt is also denominated in Bitcoin, which means that our assets and debt are both denominated in Bitcoin, and we have no credit risk on the operation. That is this operation that was massive for us in terms of scaling the model, and that allowed us to raise to this 700% BTC yield. We then launched a share subscription program for all shareholders to participate in the BTC accumulation strategy of the company. And over this period of 6 months, we went from 0.15 euros for the stock to 0.85 euros of the performance. And that was last week. Today is about 1.15. So the goal is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, as fast as possible, in the most accretive way possible for shareholders. And we also have operating business with eYorga, MetaDev 3, and Treeman that are focused on tailor-made web applications and data intelligence and AI consulting, with also a branch of blockchain-based development that we intend to adapt for the Bitcoin ecosystem. This has been possible thanks to a Bitcoin-focused and lean leadership team composed of Jean-François Descaves, an ex-president of an asset manager, Ludovic Chochin-Laurent, the co-founder also of Capital Union Bank, the largest bank in the Bahamas, Jean-Philippe Casadepac-Soulet, the CEO of the company and founder of one of the operating business, and myself, a Bitcoin maximalist focused on implementing the strategy playbook at European scale. We have strategic investors, Fulgur Ventures, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, VC Bitcoin fund, Adam Back, that I already mentioned, UTXO Management, the investment branch of Bitcoin Magazine, and Tobam, the French 2 billion asset manager, among others. So we are honored to have them. And before going into more of the Bitcoin Treasury Company strategy, I wanted to give you a picture of the operations of the historical activity. Well, we are focused on tailor-made digital applications with full-stack development and blockchain-based applications, and harnessing data and AI for transformation, for enhanced business intelligence. And so we believe that over time there will be synergies between AI, data analytics, and business intelligence related to Bitcoin. And now TBG is at a turning point of its history. After having many different lives for the last decade and even 2 decades, and the major restructuring that was our need-to-know basis back in December 2023, when the group had financial difficulties and liquidated and sold all of the subsidiaries that were not profitable to have a group with 2 operating companies that have profitability and launch on this basis and strong basis a Bitcoin treasury company on November 5, 2024. And so in 6 months after this return to profitability of the group, I joined the company in November for implementing the strategy. And since then, we are the #1 BTC company in Europe focused on Bitcoin per share increase over time. We are the #1 stock performance in France out of all stocks traded in Paris. And we generated this 709% BTC yield year to date. But we are just getting started. To date, we have mobilized equity in private placement. We have mobilized Bitcoin convertible bonds. We have mobilized share subscription warrants. And we have been authorized to proceed to public offerings and fiat convertible bonds. And so what you can see is that our business model, our core business model now, is really to use the elasticity of capital markets financial instruments to acquire as fast as possible the most inelastic asset on earth, which is Bitcoin, in a way that maximizes BTC yield. And that is my whole focus. Every day, I'm 121% focused on maximizing BTC yield for our shareholders. And so if you look at the performance more closely, because if you look at the last 6 months, we are outperforming the market. But if you look closely and compare with strategy, Metaplanet, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, what you realize is that we are exactly following the steps of strategy and Metaplanet since the launch of the respective Bitcoin treasury company strategies. The range for the 6 months is literally from 400% to 700%, and that is exactly the performance we have obtained from yesterday. That was 700%, and between 400% 2 weeks ago and 1 week ago, and 400% and 700% as of yesterday. And so the takeaway is that Bitcoin treasury companies are the fastest growing companies, and if you are bullish on Bitcoin, you can look at Bitcoin treasury companies as the best risk-adjusted way to outperform Bitcoin. And if you are bullish on Bitcoin treasury companies, you might want to have a look at early-stage Bitcoin treasury companies. We have bold plans for the future. We are focused on acquiring as much Bitcoin as possible, and we ambition to acquire 1% of the total BTC supply over 8 years. That means a potential of 21 to 42K BTC over the next 4 years, and about 210K BTC over the next 8 years. If Bitcoin reaches levels of 1 to 2 million euros or dollars by the next 8 to 10 years, that would mean that the potential BTC net asset value valuation of TBG could reach about 210 to 420 billion euros, which would mean that it would be potentially the opportunity for TBG to become Europe's largest publicly traded corporation. Thank you very much all.